Ladies and gentlemen, Susan today, coming from Canada, you currently have a net worth of $317,000.
Wow, not too bad.
How do you feel? $300,000 at 30 years old? It's crazy. But for the most part, you've also built it yourself, right?
Yes. Now I want to know how I can retire as soon as possible and if it's even possible.
My name is Romain, and for the past 10 years, I've been on a quest to tackle America's toughest personal finance situations. Leveraging my Ivy League master degree and personal experience, I've found solutions for what seems impossible. In 1 year, you can completely be in a different spot. Are we ready to take action?
Yes.
Will this be the one I cannot solve? Let's see what happens. Let's look at your profile. You are 30 years old. You're originally from Ottawa, Canada. You currently work in public healthcare, which is similar to the CDC of the US. And on top of that, you're also a doctorate student. Is that right?
Yes.
Awesome. Looking at the way you've rated your personal finances, from chilling to Mayday, you rated yourself, ladies and gentlemen, as I'm okay.
Yes.
This is excellent to hear, but I know, knowing some elements of your story, things were not always like this. Susan, what's going on?
I'm doing okay, but a few years ago, I made a decision that might have ruined me financially. Ever since I did recover a little bit, but I want to know how I can retire as soon as possible and if it's even possible.
That's going to be very exciting, guys. Here we have, for the most part, a strong case that strives towards achieving freedom. You know, you're just 30 years old and you're already in the right mindset, kind of speeding through life. But at its root, you are actually born from a pretty strict Asian family.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Yeah, so born and raised in Canada, but my parents are from Vietnam. So kind of that cultural background, school, lots of school, but it was always, oh, we don't have money. Oh, mom, can I have this? Can I play sports? Oh, we don't have money. We don't have money. So I grew up with, we don't have money. So when I turned 15, I was like, well, if I can't ask my parents for money, I'm going to make my own money.
But that led you to take initiative pretty young, striving towards accumulating up to 5 jobs by the time you were 18. And something happened at 18 years old that really marked you.
I did go to school after. So I did my bachelor's and I did take out some student loans. And while at my part-time job, my manager, we were just stocking shelves and my manager said, I still have my student loans. And she was like in her mid-40s and that I was like, she's 40 and she still has student loans? Oh my goodness. So I vouch that I won't have student loans by the time I'm 45. And so at the end of my bachelor's, I worked 5 jobs to pay off my student loans in 6 months.
How much are we speaking?
It was about $45,000.
Canadian dollars.
Canadian
right?
dollars.
So
yes.
just here, guys, a pinch of flavor. You have to know that Canadian dollars are slightly below monetary value against the US. $1 is 1.4 or so Canadian.
Very expensive right now.
That's right. As always, guys, don't forget we are in a country that has the primary currency of the world. Thank you for us, because for the most part, we are always at an advantage, especially when we go to other countries. But on your side, very quickly, you decided to go and pay up your student loans. But then a couple of years later, a decision happens that you did regret.
I wanted to get out of the house. It wasn't a great place for me mentally. And I was like, I need to get out of here. But renting was not an option. It is an option, but it wasn't in my mind because, again, that culture of like, renting is bad. You're just throwing money away. So I only looked at owning. I didn't even consider renting. So I started looking at homes to buy to get out of my parents' house. And then my boyfriend at that time kind of made his way through the purchasing as well. I originally wanted to look at homes by myself.
Okay.
But, I was very naive at that time. So I said, okay, let's buy a house together. So we bought a house together.
Ah, yeah.
It's supposed to be fun and dandy, but after 4 months, we broke up.
Ooh, okay. Was it a lot because of the house purchase, you would say? Did that bring a lot of tension to the couple, or?
No, I think there was tension before that, but after moving, I think now that I'm out of my parents' house, I had something else to focus on, which was the relationship. And I already knew I didn't want to be with him long term, unfortunately. And I thought maybe buying a house would fix it. And I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, so, I'm no one to judge relationships and so on, but guys, please, before making any big decisions, like, buying a house, which, it's a big one, but it's not the biggest, or something like having a child or getting married because we think, oh, this is going to enhance the relationship. No, the relationship at its root needs to come from a healthy background to then support an additional potentially element of stress, but it's not the one that's generally going to save it. So please be careful as you're watching.
Yeah, listen to him.
In your case, after 4 months, you're wanting to get out of this situation, but you still want to keep the house.
Yeah, I wanted to keep the house. In my mind, I was like, there's no way I'm going back to my parents' house. I'm keeping the house. I was kind of stubborn in that point, even though I didn't have the money to do so. So what happened was I borrowed money from my aunts and my mom to go through all the paperwork to kind of refinance the house under my name.
So you body shares pretty much.
Yes.
Okay, so immediately you become a house owner, but then you implement something that actually saves your boat. You start the concept of house hacking.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more on that.
Luckily, my mom's friend came up to me and was like, hey, are you guys willing to rent one of your bedrooms? I have a friend, daughter coming from Vietnam. And I was like, oh my God, perfect timing because me and my boyfriend just broke up. So I started house hacking 1 bedroom. And I liked the money that came in. It helped me a lot. So I was like, I have a second bedroom. So I started renting that out too.
Very nice. But you didn't stop just there. You're trying to milk everything from that house.
Yeah. So a friend actually was graduating from his master's and he came up to me. He said, hey, are you renting a bedroom? Because I'm graduating. I'm thinking of working in the tech field and you live close to that area. And I was like, would you live in my basement? And he said, yes. So I said, okay.
There you go. The house now is fully optimized on that front. And that allows you to kind of save the boat. But then, despite going through all that, recovered success, you still find yourself pressured by the Canadian economy in a way.
Yes. So it's very expensive up there. I feel like my salary, even though I make enough, I feel like it should be enough, but it's not enough. I was actually talking to a colleague about this the other day. It's like, we're making good money, and we don't have kids. So how are we supposed to survive with kids?
That's just sometimes the way things are because of, overload of expenses and, quality of life and standards. And for the most part, you will see, you're living your life very optimally. But let's speak about the specifics of Canada just for a minute. Let's interest ourselves into the kind of this different economy that's just the borders of the United States. Canadians, for the most part, they earn less than in the US. Okay, the median income in the United States is about $46,000, but in Canada, you guys are at 39.
Oh, really?
That's right.
Oh my goodness.
So you guys are below that. Now let's look at the median debt for a household in the US, $61,300. Canada, much lower at $47,000. So Canadians, for the most part, tend to be in lower debt. And in fact, let's dive just briefly into this. When we think about cost of living, the United States have about 10 to 15% higher than in Canada. A lot of that is driven because of the currency aspect. Mm-hmm. But when we look at what I think is the most important component between two countries is purchasing power. And the United States have a 25 to 30% higher purchasing power than in Canada. So here, our money just goes further, despite being more expensive, but that's because we also earn much more. What would you say has been your experience with that?
Yeah, a lot of people think that life is great in Canada, but there are some nuances. Like we have the European policies such as universal health care. We got a lot of social benefits. We're taken care of for mat leave and retirement, but we have that American mindset being so close to the States. So we have that capitalism, consumerism mindset.
That's right. So it's very interesting because it conflicts between the socialism to the capitalism. So you guys are almost at the perfect example of the mesh of those two. As you mentioned, healthcare, looking at in Canada, you guys have universal healthcare. It's funded by taxpayers. And when we look at the average amount of money spent between Canadians and Americans, it's 2.5 more than in Canada when we think about health spend. Same thing goes for taxes. You guys in Canada have a pretty steep taxes. We'll be speaking on based on your income, and that kind of justifies, all of the social systems that kind of support it, and kind of your 1 year of maternal leave when in the United States is just, as we know, a couple of weeks, right?
Crazy.
Coming back a little bit to your story as we bring a little bit of that flavor into international finances. Today, you've recovered from that house purchase, feeling house poor for a moment. How do you feel about your finances today?
I'm feeling okay, but I think I can do a lot better. I think throughout my life, I've been trying to make my parents proud. I've been trying to get a secure job, but I don't want to be stuck in a cubicle for the rest of my life. And that's why I want to retire early. I still want to work part-time and do things that I enjoy, like spending time with my family, maybe getting a part-time job somewhere, but I don't want to be stuck I don't want to have to work. I want to work. And I do want to have a family. I look at my friends, they're married with kids, and I want that as well.
Right. Let's see how that transitions together. Looking at numbers specifically for our Canadian friend with your income and your assets. So you work in the CDC of Canada, pretty much as an analyst. This has provided you with pretty safe employment for the past couple years.
The golden handcuffs, as they say.
That's right, because you never want to live, but you're always safe into it. But it's not paying as well, although you're doing much better than your competition. How much are you making from it in a yearly basis?
In Canadian dollars, it's 119,500.
Okay, that's pretty steep. That brings you to about 6,700 net for that. So you can see, guys, the taxation here is very strong, about 33%, but a lot of this goes to kind of
pension
and so forth, pensions. Yes, Canadians do contribute towards their pensions on top of having systems like 401ks. We'll be discussing about this. You just call it different. But you also house hack. Right now, you're not renting 3, you're just renting 2. How much are you renting them for?
Yeah, so one bedroom is $775 and the other is $750.
Okay, pretty good. That brings you an extra about $1,500 per month. Together at 30 years old with no other income, right?
No.
That brings your total income at $137,800. Congratulations. That's very nice. That's much better than the median for your age. So you're doing, on paper, really good. Let's see how have you been managing your money. Guys, what's really nice about our friend here, as I mentioned to you, she is very smart when it comes to allocating your funds. At the first of every month, money just goes all over the place. You have a bunch of accounts. Let's look into this together. First, you have a checking account here with a balance of $7,277. You also have another checking with a balance of 0. Walk me through what that is.
Yeah, so that's just an account for me for the paycheck to come in, and that's where I start transferring the money.
That's right. Every dollar is pretty much accounted by the time it hits your account.
Yes.
And it, for the most part, goes automatically. Correct?
Yes.
As we look into where does that money goes, well, you have what you refer to as the emergency fund with 3,342. We would like this to be a little bit more beefed up. You also have a sinking fund. I wasn't too sure when I saw that, but it's kind of your fund, right?
Yeah, and like things for the future that I know will happen.
That's interesting to have the demarcation between emergency and sinking, but you're using it for, entertainment and vacations and so on.
Yeah, puppy fund is in there.
That's right. 3,897. Okay. All of this is your cash. Now, I wish you had a little bit more because you only have about 14,500 of cash. Canadian. That's 10,000 US dollars.
Yes.
Let's look though at your other forms of assets. You have a car.
I do.
What do you drive?
2018 Toyota Camry.
How many miles?
66,000.
Okay. Do you own any money on it?
None.
Nice. Okay.
Paid off.
That's awesome. This car is valued today at 21,150.
Hey, not bad.
Really nice. You also have, now follow along, guys, Canadian forms of retirement. You have three. One is similar to a 401k in the United States. It's an RSP, and on it you have a mere 6,582. Okay. But now, guys, something that's very interesting about Canada that I think could be amazing to implement in the US. You have what is referred to as TFSA. That's the same as a Roth IRA. Now, in the United States, every year we are capped at $7,000 per year that we can put on it. And if you don't fund your money by the time the deadline comes, you've pretty much withdrew yourself from that option. That's not the case in Canada. By the time you hit 18, what's going on?
At 18, you get a certain amount that you can max out. And then if you don't max it out, it rolls over every year.
That's amazing. So right now, despite you having about, in total on those accounts, between the two, you have 15,233. But you have the option, if you wanted to max it out to 72,463.
That's right, because I haven't maxed it out since 18, so.
Tax-free.
Tax-free.
That's crazy. Whereas us, we would have to wait, a decade. You can do it in one payment if you want to. Now, this money is against locked, but the same thing goes for the RRSP that you can max out at 61,000. So Canada really grants you the chance to catch up if you've fallen behind, whereas in the United States, once the year is done, ladies and gentlemen, you're done. Okay, so see a little bit of a system that I do enjoy myself. When we think about kind of the saving rate in Canada is much stronger than in the US. You guys save about 5.7% of your income, whereas in the US is about 3.2%. A lot of the Canadian money is actually invested into pretty safe positions, given that only 30% of households in Canada actually invest in stocks. In the US, it's about 55%.
Okay.
See? You guys are more like Europeans, like we mentioned, prone to invest into real estate positions. And keeping money.
Good to know.
Keeping money cash as well. Interesting.
There's a reason why we invest in real estate. Because it goes up really fast.
Yes, we'll be speaking on that. Speaking about that, actually, you own a house. We've spoken on this.
I do.
You bought this house for about
$275,000
in
2018.
How much is it worth now?
I think $500,000.
How do you know?
Well, my neighbor with the same house sold for over $500,000 during pandemic. So I think mine is worth about the same.
All right. So a $500,000 house. You still own a mortgage on it, but you've been able to build some strong equity. Looking at mortgage rates in Canada, you guys are a pinch below the United States. 5.5, whereas in the US, 6.5 when we look at the recent month. Good for you guys. Europe is even lower than that. We are at around 3 to 4%. United States, money is more expensive, but bear in mind, guys, don't worry. It's not Venezuela, where it's in 70% or so. Not on mortgage, but on interest loans, it's crazy. So the cost of money differs between countries, and you guys have it just a little bit lower than us. Other than that, you also have brokerage investments, not too many of those. For the most part, as we mentioned, they are flowing through your retirement. But you have a crypto account. $66.
Yay!
Mostly invested into Bitcoin and Ethereum. I like to see that. I think it would be nice for you to potentially increase a little bit your contribution on this. I like to have skin in the game, about 10% of your assets. 7% BTC, 3% Ethereum, just so you to have some skin in the game for something that could continue to grow. I am positive, or I am optimistic into the world of cryptocurrency, not in a meme or shitcoins, none of that. Forget about that shit. But in the blue chips, I'm definitely for it. Together, my dear friend, at 30 years old, that brings your total amount of assets, assuming you were to sell everything. Now, you still have some debt, but if you were to sell everything at $562,547.
I feel rich, guys. I feel rich.
But wait, you have some debt. Let's rock and roll straight on it. You guys often hear me speak about how expensive some of our fixed costs are, especially one that we all have, which is our phone plan. And so myself, I've been looking for ways to, get some savings while still having a solid 5G connection and a mobile plan that works. Well, let me tell you, I found something pretty interesting. The company is called Helium Mobile. This network actually really caught my attention, and the whole goal is simple: cut costs while still providing you with the best coverage. In fact, it is simple and effective, and Helium has 3 distinct new phone plans. And at launch, they're offering something that is unheard of: a completely free phone plan. That's right, free. You get 3 gigabytes of data, 100 minutes of calls, and 300 texts every month without spending a single dime. They also have offers that range at $15 and $30 for unlimited everything if you're like me and you need more data. Look guys, this industry is changing and I want for our community to be part of it. So to get started for free, go to hellohelium.com or download their app and enter the code Romain, ROMAIN, to unlock this offer. Thank you so much, Helium Mobile, for sponsoring this video. And now let's get back to our content. You know what? We're going to tackle the first one. You currently have a mortgage. How much do you pay on your mortgage per month?
So my housing expense is about $2,400 a month.
Okay, so not so much of a bad rate on that mortgage. That's 29% of your income.
Okay.
We like it to be at 28, so you're kind of spot on. But you're building equity, and on top of that, you're generating $1,500 from your tenants. So not too bad of a trade. Now, what's very fun about this is you have about $224,000 mortgage, but something's unique to Canada. What is it?
So in Canada, you can't keep the same mortgage rate. You have to renew it.
Okay. What do you mean by renew it? What does that mean?
Yeah. So let's say I signed a mortgage 5 years ago at 2%. In 5 years, I have to refinance or renew it with the new mortgage rate.
Oh, so it's not hitting the right time right now.
I know.
Darn. Okay. So when is this happening?
Mine's due in December.
Ooh. Okay, that's not the greatest time.
And I bought my house in 2018. So when the rates were really, really good.
Ugh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you can pretty much further increase your mortgage if you want to, or extend the time. You can pretty much continuously extend the time if you want to.
Yeah. So you can adjust the amortization period if you want. If the interest rate is higher and you can't afford it, you can stretch out the amortization period.
You know what's nice about it? The more I think, the more you guys have those little tweaks that allows you flexibility in your finances. You're not stuck on at 15 or 30 years, although you could do similar in the United States by applying refinance. But in your case, it gives you that chance to reset, adjust based on your situation. You want to pay more, you want to pay less, you want to kind of tweak some of that interest. I can see both sides. Sometimes I like the peace of mind knowing that I locked at 2% for 30 years.
I know.
Although 2%, we've never seen really that in the US. I've had a friend during the pandemic that locked 0.5% in France.
Way. Oh, mine right now.
Free money.
Yeah.
What is yours right now?
Mine right now is 1.94. And I got quoted for 4.6.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
It is bad compared to what I have now.
Yes, but compared to, it's bad. It's funny because 4.6 today, me, I would be like, Yes, I love that.
Really?
But
For
yes,
me, I'm like, oh no.
see, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Just value your money. And then you speak to someone in South America, they're like, oh, it's a jackpot. Okay. All right. So $224,000 on this. Now, let's speak about the tough one. You also have another form of debt on that house. What is it?
It is a HELOC.
Okay. How much do you have on this?
17,000. And I didn't put it to good use, I'd say.
What did you do with that money?
I tried to start a business during the pandemic. It worked out well. I think if I had time, it would have done well-ish. But at that time, it was pandemic. I was stressed working at in public health, given the situation. And I was doing my master's at that time. So I didn't have the energy, the time to invest more into that business.
Okay. So kind of I would say a failed mathematical business venture, but a positive experience.
Positive.
Well, hopefully you've learned from it.
I did learn from it.
There you go. So that's good. You know, you haven't broke yourself with 16,000. Okay, it's not amazing, but you're paying a little bit on that. This one is not the 1.9%. What's your interest?
Right now, it's at 6.95%.
Oh, that hurts. You see what I mean?
See, I didn't know it hurt. I thought that was like normal.
It's not too bad actually for HELOC, but you're more or less close to what you would get here in the US on HELOCs. Yeah, surprisingly. Maybe it's not as much of a popular product there. I'm not sure. But anyway, so what's interesting though is on the HELOC, you have quite a bit of, you can go much further, but you've not kind of been going against it for the most part. You've kind of been paying the interest on it.
Yeah, I kind of want to get rid of it. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. We'll be speaking on this as we think about the renewal of your mortgage. You also have another form of loan. What is that?
It is to my mom.
How much?
About 4,000.
4,000, okay. What was that for?
That was for the house breakup.
Woo! That was like 6 years ago.
I know, but my mom was like, take your time. So I was trying to rebuild my finances first, and then I started paying her every month, interest-free, and no timeline. So I've been taking my time, but I do want to pay her back.
Yes, hopefully, she's not pressuring you on this, but, good finances makes good family environments, okay? Something to take note of. Okay, now let's transition to some other fun stuff here, looking at your other form of expenses and debt. So cars, for the most part, you don't really have any car payments. You don't have any car debt.
No.
Gas is crazy expensive.
Very.
How much do you spend a month on gas?
About $250 to $300.
That's expensive. And insurance?
Insurance, $145.
Not too bad.
And I have parking for $150.
Okay.
At work.
Not too bad. That brings your transportation expenses against your income at 7%. Good to go. Now let's dive into the specifics of your finances. Let's have some fun. Our friend is so well organized that every single line on the statements has actually a description for it. I'm going to start with the juicy one because let's have some fun. I see an expense in September of $610 in New York City. What is this?
So I got 2 speeding tickets in New York
Okay.
within the year. And so they sent an assessment for 400 something. But then with conversion, it comes up to 600 something Canadians.
See, they will track you down. You will be surprised. My partner was in Italy.
Oh.
She got flashed by an automatic radar. And to the surprise of anyone, they were able to track down from her license plate our address and send her the bill here in the United States.
That's crazy.
Globalization is killing us, guys. So they got you, Canadian and American borders. They speak about traffic tickets. Okay, let's speak about some other things. What's very nice is actually your finances, you spend into companies that is pretty much America. You spend at Costco for your gas. You spend at Walmart for your food. You spend at Petco and PetSmart for your dogs. Which, do you have health insurance?
I don't, and I have a reason.
What's going on? What's going on?
I know you like pet insurance, but there's a reason why I don't have it. So I have 2 corgis, and I adopted them a lot later in their life. So my first corgi, okay, she was 3.5. I looked at pet insurance. It was too expensive. It was like $100 a month, $150 a month.
Okay.
Okay. And I was like, I'll just put that money aside instead.
Where's that money?
In my puppy fund.
Let me see. Puppy fund.
$200.
Yeah.
And so my second dog, I got him when he was 9.5.
Okay, so I'm okay for the second.
I think I checked again recently. Is now at 280.
Yeah, of course. How old is he?
She's 4.5 now.
Yeah. My dog, just 2 or 3 days ago, no joke, shaky on the back legs. Crazy. We think he has a back disease. Surgery, $9,800. That's 12,000 Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with your sinking fund of $179?
I'm going to take out of my HELOC.
Gosh. A HELOC at 7%, at least it's not credit card debt, you know. One incident, is it worth the trade-off? To me, I will always protect myself and sleep at peace at night. You know, he has the back issue. Emotionally, I'm impacted. Financially, I'm not seeing it, you know. So I do anything, you know. Like his surgery, some doctors says do it. Some others said, maybe not. I don't care. Money is not an issue. Just go for it. Do everything you can. You don't want to be put in that position. I mean, cash, you have $15,000.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to be tapped out just because you haven't taken. Just try and benchmark for the different ones. 280 is very expensive.
Yeah.
But put that money aside at least. Don't just let it rot into a puppy fund that's, you know, a year old that has $179.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. So you spend your money into shops that we feel like we are in the US.
Oh, yeah.
Starbucks a little bit, Amazon, Lululemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, nothing too crazy. A little bit of fast food, not that often.
Sometimes I just crave it, but no.
That's fair. Okay, hold on. Lululemon again, $179.
So a lot of times I order for my friends because I have a discount and they'll pay me back.
I don't have the note of the payback on this one. Oh, bubble tea. Let's go. About 7 times last month. It's expensive. $9. Wow.
For what?
Bubble tea.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what's really nice also is that you're contributing towards your health. I see a ton of, you know, like massage, physio,
Yes.
chiro, and so on. But thankfully, living in Canada, all of this, for the most part, is taken care for you.
It's mostly my work insurance.
No, I mean, nothing too astonished. A lot of house purchases lately, you know?
Yeah.
What were you doing there?
I renovated my house in August. So just buying like drain covers because I didn't have that. My wall is still empty. I've lived there for 6 years and there's no art decor.
Big one, 4,302. Not too long ago. What is that?
So I'm doing my doctorate degree, and I want to do it for myself. I know I can accomplish it, so I am doing it, but I'm not going to go into debt for it. So I wanted to cash flow it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. You're paying it using your income. Let's think about it from an investment perspective. Are you doing it from a pure kind of brain exercise aspect or from an earning potential aspect?
So I heard that if you're going to do a doctorate degree, you're not doing it for the income. And so
Because generally it lands in academics. That's
exactly.
what it does.
So in my mind, I'm doing it for myself. And if it does bring me more money or income, great.
All right. Well, I mean, that's a good hobby because for the most part, you don't spend your money on anything else other. I see just a couple of drinks here and there, restaurants, but, you know, sushi and so on, but that's it.
That's it. I just study. I don't go out. My social life is with my friends on WhatsApp, and we'll meet each other once a month, less than that. And I just spend my time studying and playing a lot of volleyball.
Very nice. Okay, good hobbies, good. And thinking about socially, you are also facing kind of a little bit of a dilemma. What's going on?
Yes. So I have a boyfriend, and he is American, and he's in the army.
Okay.
Yes. So we met when he was close to the border, but he has moved more south. So now it's kind of it was easier before because we were able to drive over, but now we have to consider, okay, what's the next step in our relationship?
That's a very big key for you because you're potentially thinking about moving to the US.
Potentially, yes.
Do we have the funds to justify this? Do we need to sell the house?
Yeah,
What do we need to do?
I don't know what to do.
Okay, but let's think about this as we think about your recommendations. But overall, now that we just sum your total debt, and what's very surprising to see actually is you do not have any credit card debt. You have a credit card with an available balance of 18,000. Speak to me about just the credit environment of Canadians. I believe you guys also have some form of credit score, isn't it?
Credit score really matters.
Oh, yeah?
It does, yeah. When you want to buy a house, when you want to buy
Like
a
in the
car,
US.
like in the US. Very similar to the States, and I'm hoping I can keep up my credit scores. But yeah.
Zero credit card debt, that's really good. When we look at actually Canadians, on average, they hold about 2.2 credit cards per household compared to 3.3 for the United States. You guys still carry a balance, but much lower at 3,300 compared to 6,300 for Americans.
Like
yes.
double.
That's right. Yeah, credit cards here is the jackpots of banks. You know, cash backs and free
Travel
money,
points.
capital points. Who is paying for that?
Yeah.
It's not the bank. It's the people that are paying stupid 30% interest on your credit cards. If you have credit card debts, you need to work on this before going to Punta Cana and enjoying timeshares in Mexico. Together, if we were to sum your total debt today at 30 years old, that brings you at 245,275. Ladies and gentlemen, Susan, today, coming from Canada, in Canadian dollars, you currently have a net worth of $317,000.
Wow. Not too bad.
How do you feel? $300,000 at 30 years old? It's crazy.
Wow.
But for the most part, you've also built it yourself, right? You had the loan, but you've paid back your parents.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I feel good, but then it's not cash money.
You're not seeing it because
I'm
you have
not
15
seeing
grand.
it. Yeah.
In a way, it's an forced mechanism that kind of, with your unfortunate situation of being house poor, led you today to, almost 80% of which was driven by the equity that you've built on your house.
Yeah. I regretted it for a long time buying a home until the pandemic hit and when the housing market went up. But for a long time, I was like, what am I doing? Should I just stop being stubborn? And I'm glad I kept it.
So now that we know more about your finances, let's see about optimizing and kind of pulling strings to speed you up to retirement as fast as humanly possible. Let's move on to the money case. We're going to be speaking about one of the biggest topic that has been flowing through internet for the past couple years or so, which refers to as the FIRE movement.
Yes.
Financial independence, retire early, which you want to fall under, okay? We're going to be speaking together about what that means in your situation. I want to give a little bit of context, okay? The big thing about the FIRE movement is for you to get what is referred to as a FIRE number. A FIRE number is a number that you want to hit. From that point, you're almost guaranteeing yourself a recurring income that you can withdraw from that investment over the course of, it's meant to be a kind of a forever investment type, because the whole idea behind it is that you have a withdrawal rate of 4% or 25 times the amount that you need on an annual basis. So what does that mean? Well, from someone, let's say, that has $100,000 and that says, oh, Romain, I want to retire. I have $100,000. If we apply that, it means that from today, on a monthly basis, you can withdraw, without impacting your capital, $333.
Okay.
As far as I know, except if you live maybe in Thailand or in countries that currency is much lower, you're not going to be able to really live off $330 per month. Now, if we increase that to $200,000, well, I mean, it's as simple as that. It's $660. But let's be honest, this is not really realistic in the United States nor in Canada. So what does that mean for you? Let's say now you have, $500,000. Then the amount of money that you would be able to withdraw on a monthly basis, according to the FIRE movement, is $1,667.
Okay.
That's okay. That's, about $20,000 per year or so. Still not really that much. $1 million, let's rock and roll on this, is not as big. If you have $1 million, you would only be able to withdraw $3,300. That's $40,000 per year.
Okay.
$5 million is now much greater. It's $200,000 per year.
Okay.
So let's transition into putting a strategy that actually makes that possible for you. Before we dive into the FIRE discussion, I'm going to tell you something that's necessary for you to know is how I define finances with their needs, their wants, and their gold, as you know. Today, if I was to sum your needs, assuming a continuous expenses on your tuition and pay back off the interest on your ELOC, not just the principal, you're at $5,673.
Okay.
That is 69% of your income. We like it to be below 50, but a lot of which is your tuition.
Yes.
A lot of which is also your mortgage. But for the most part, you're bringing almost, $1,500 of rental income on a $2,500 mortgage. So you're doing pretty good when it comes to the house. When I think about your wants today, honestly, you're in a really good financial spot. But if I was to put a number, I would put around $200. That is your sinking fund. That's for you to have fun, to travel, to potentially see your boyfriend. That's about $2,500 per year. Mathematically, today, you can clear per month between $2,000 and $2,200 of savings.
Okay.
Now let's speak about how we would go about it. When we think about FIRE, there is really three types of FIRE individuals. There is what we refer to as a fat FIRE. Fat FIRE is when you're coming out with massive savings because you want to have a very, very comfortable living. You also have the lean FIRE. This is when you're coming to an amount, knowing that once you reached it, then you're going to live pretty frugal. Your goal is to kind of lay and enjoy life without having to pretty much get too bothered and, for the most part, kind of assuming the regular living, nothing too extravagant. And then there is what we refer to as the barista FIRE.
Yes.
Barista FIRE is when you crank a pretty tough job for a while, and then you chill into something that's more like a part-time or less stress environment that you kind of peace and love.
I want to do a part-time professor job.
There you go. That's
the
good
goal.
with the academics aspect of your
Yeah.
PhD. Okay, good. So potentially this PhD has some financial investment conversions to it. Okay. So when we think about together your FIRE number, to me, realistically, assuming the fact that you're probably going to want to have kids, want to build a family, and also you're going to kind of be living in whichever country we don't really know right now, I would at least for you put a number that is at $2 million.
Okay. Okay.
So today, you're worth $317,000.
Okay.
How, over the course of the next 10 years, actually 15 years, are we going to get to that 1.7 million that we need? Okay? Assuming your speed of growth, to me, this is something that's realistic.
Is it?
Yes, I'm going to tell you how.
Okay.
So what I would do, number one, what you have to understand if you want to be part of that movement is that many early retired, their primary objective is to save as much of their income as possible. For the most part, if you want to be part of the club, it's about 50%.
Okay.
In your side right now, you're mostly around 35, 37%. So you're a little bit below. a lot of which is driven by your tuition. Your life is pretty lean. You're not going and balling on everything. Your house is an investment. Your car is paid off. You're not stacking on expensive debt. You've made a mistake on that HELOC, and we're going to speak about it, about what would I do about it. But you are naturally, at least in the next 2 years or so, after you graduate from that PhD, going to be able to reach that number. That's one solution to be part of Faure. The second is you have to somehow create a side hustle or another business. In your case, I would not.
I don't think I have time.
Exactly. You don't have the time,
Yeah.
and your priorities are different.
I've thought about it.
It's not the right time because you're already doing it with your tuition, and your priorities right now is to build the right foundation that gives you the flexibility of choice with your partner.
Okay.
Now, when we think about, again, the FIRE movement, there is what we refer to as the trio investment.
Okay.
A trio investment is investment into real estate, which you've partake of. Today, I would not sell the house.
Okay.
Okay? Because for the most part, if you were to really wanting to optimize this house, you would be able to convert your bedroom into an additional rental unit. And if you want to push it, you also have the basement. Total operating income, $2,800, which is more than your mortgage. You're continuing to build equity. This is a safe spot, a safe ground. Don't sell the house, just continue through it.
Okay.
That's real estate. Speaking of real estate, yes, I would encourage you to renew your mortgage and bring in the HELOC within it.
Okay.
Okay? I've made some simple calculations for you.
Okay.
Assuming the fact that you're going to pay this HELOC in 2 years, which mathematically, assuming the $2,000 of saving is realistic. In even less, but let's assume for other miscellaneous aspects. Putting it under your mortgage against leaving it on a HELOC is about $1,168 of savings.
Okay.
The decision of leaving that debt on a HELOC is costing you $60 a month extra than if it was on the assumed new rate that you would get on your mortgage.
Okay.
So mathematically, I would clear that amount. What is this going to give you? The HELOC, that's going to clear that $20,000 or so of line of credit that you have on it. Coming back to my trio investment, real estate is cornered. Right now, if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't invest into additional real estate positions.
Okay.
Put that on the side for the next at least 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
You have 80% of your net worth invested into it. We want to diversify it into the second type of investment, which refers to stock and brokerage.
Okay.
Being in Canada, you have this option, as you mentioned, of the TFSA, which gives you tax savings. You can build that up to $73,000. And as a contrast to a Roth IRA, you can withdraw without deductions.
Yes.
So with this should be the number one priority that you have in your life right now.
Okay.
To max this out before the 401k. I don't like 401ks.
Really?
Only to the extent at which you're able to grant the company match.
Okay.
I like to have a base of a 401k, but then I like to be able, generally in the United States, they are managed by target funds, which is the case for yours. You're being charged 0.5% management fees. This is hundreds of thousands of dollars if you were to put a lot of money into it by the time you want to retire. I don't really like that. I'd rather you invest into positions like you have on your individual account with investment into the S&P 500 and so on. So immediately, I would stop contributing to it except for the match that you might get from your company and speed up as fast as humanly possible into those investments on the tax-free TFSA account.
Okay.
And then the third type of investment that we have is one that you haven't contributed to.
What is it?
It is safe positions in bonds or into high yield savings accounts and in readily available money. Now, am I alarmed about your position? No. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
It's because in a matter of a day, looking at your financial situation, you can pull $60,000 $18,000 credit line on your credit card, $22,000 on a personal loan, $20,000 on ELOC. So if an emergency arises, in a matter of a day, you have 60 grand granted to you. That's because you've built yourself in a financial debt. Now it's expensive, but you have time to go to it. You have that flexibility. $15,000 of cash is not good. I don't like it at all.
I don't like it either.
So when we think about your sinking fund, right now, to me, it's over the top.
Okay.
$3,500, I would not have this money invested. Personally, I would put $2,000 back towards your mother because my goal is for you to only have mortgage. That's it.
Okay.
Free everything else in your mind. Your car is covered. Everything is covered. Your ELOC is out of the way. You've made that mistake in a way, but you're paying it. It's going to take you some time, but it's okay. You've gotten the learning. I would put $2,000 towards your mother, so to show good faith that you're out of the topic on that front, and just as a mutual respect. I would leave $1,000 on your sinking fund, and for the next immediate 3 to 4 months, I would build your emergency fund to at least $10,000.
Okay.
I need you to have a little bit of cash. Despite having you those lines of credits, which are saving grace, you're just overly weighted on the real estate front.
Okay.
As you continue to build on that emergency fund, you're then going to pivot all of your savings into that TFSA and also diversify yourself into cryptos. As I mentioned, about 10% skin in the game, 7% BTC, 3% ETH.
Okay.
Now, assuming a saving rate of about $2,000 for the next 15 years, if invested, you will get to $828,000, which is not enough for the 1.7 that we need to bridge back. Actually, it's a little bit lower than 1.7 because a lot of your investments are going to gain value. So realistically, you want to save about 1.2 to 1.4. If by the time you're 45, you want to get to $100,000 that you can pull on a yearly basis. So the number that you need to achieve realistically that you can once your tuition falls off is, my friend, if you're able to save and invest wisely $3,200 per month by the time you're 45, you can pull $100,000 per year in continuity.
And that's with a part-time job?
Without a part-time job.
Oh, without?
Purely of investment.
Oh, okay.
Because your fund will reach to $2 million. You would earn the benefit of appreciation on your real estate positions while still safeguarding yourself with liquid cash. Any type of investor, any type of individual should always have readily available in cash between 12 to 17%.
Okay.
Today, in cash, as part of your assets, you have 2.6%.
Yeah.
See, the ratio is off.
Yeah.
Okay? So raise that up.
Okay.
Max out the retirement. Max out the TFSA, that Roth IRA that you can pull without deductions. Amazing. $3,200. At 45, you can pull $100,000. If you complement that with the barista part-time and appreciations on your funds, you're golden.
Okay, question. So if I pay off my HELOC, would that affect my credit score? Because I know with credit scores, you have to show that you have debt.
No, that's bullshit.
No? Okay.
So I don't think that this is not going to it's going to negatively impact your score for 4 to 6 months.
Okay.
But it's going to come back to it because you're already showcasing a high level of debt through your mortgage. Diversification on your accounts, having multiple accounts is important. It's okay to lose one account.
Okay.
Because you're going to lose that ELOC account, that ELOC debt.
Yeah.
You're going to catch it up in the mortgage. it won't affect your credit score in the long run.
Okay.
I wouldn't be worried about that. I wouldn't engage for you to take part of any other form of debt other than wanting to potentially increase your amount of accounts by registering to credit cards that are going to allow you the chance to elevate. So don't get a Macy's or a Whole Food or a Costco credit card. This is shit. Get one from a big bank that you can raise over time so that you don't have to cancel it in 5 years and lose the history on it.
Okay.
That's how you increase your credit score.
Okay.
Get additional lines of credits smartly.
Okay.
I have 17 credit cards, because I like to milk bonuses and I like to live a life that gives me at least 5% cash back, which is not your case. You're paying raw. You're not getting much benefits from your payments right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, I think it's a great plan. It makes me feel good that I can do it because I would do the Faure calculations myself and I'm like, oh, I'm never going to get there. I'm going to have to work till I'm 65.
No, you can pull it off.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you can pull it off.
Okay.
Assuming, inflation is going to come against you. So this number may fluctuate around, but I can comfortably say that if you're saving between $3,500 to $4,000 per month wisely, by 45, you can retire.
Okay.
All right?
Okay. Oh, man.
Okay.
This is good news.
What I like to do as well is I will make sure to have a follow-up with you in the next couple of weeks just to know how things are going. Your situation is pretty strong, so I'm confident that you will pull it off. I'm excited to see how everything transitioned for our first Faure movement individual. And welcome to the club.
And the first Canadian.
There you go. That's right. Guys, it was a pleasure to have you with us. We invite you to like and subscribe to check out some of our other content. Until then, I see you next time. À bientôt.
Let's start with the bad news. My emergency fund is down to $0. After the show, both my dogs had to be hospitalized. They stayed 2 nights. And unfortunately, the pet insurance didn't kick in yet, and I paid out of pocket. Luckily, I did have an emergency fund, so I didn't take on more debt, which is the good news. Now I'm putting all my energy towards replenishing and rebuilding that emergency fund. I did refinance my mortgage, and I took your advice in taking some of that equity and paying off my HELOC, and I'm so happy I did because not seeing that negative balance is just a relief. I did go against your advice and I picked up a second job teaching French online, which has been super great. I think it's gonna add onto my resume for the future once I'm done my doctorate. And finally, I'm still aiming for Barista Faure by 45. If it wasn't for you, Romain, and financial action, I wouldn't think it would be possible. So thank you so much for having me from Canada to come see you. I appreciate the plan and the recommendations you've put together for me.